It all starts at a school where a girl named Zitin was angry with her brother-in-law, Kinley, for having come to pick her up in the car. She tells him that she can't stand having him as a brother-in-law, making our protagonist Kinley angry. Later, at the family's house, she was speaking with Liu Minghao, Kinley's father-in-law. Upon learning that the popular girl who was married to a mute person asked to call him to meet the man who conquered her heart, Kinley was in his room cultivating his power, where after 10 years, he had finally finished allowing himself to speak again. Then he goes down to meet his father-in-law, who, having him in front of Kinley, begins to insult him since he is not worthy of being with her. But whoever speaks to him, giving him his name, everyone is surprised since supposedly he was mute. Suddenly Zitin receives a call where they tell him that her sister Kim was going to be arrested for a problem in the company. Upon hearing that, Kinley decides to go help his wife, who is our baby Kim. When he finds out everything, he tells them that he is going to help them since his family has power. But first, they decide to go see the situation. When they arrived, a girl Liu Wan telling her that if she did not pay her $1 million, she will send her to jail since one of her cosmetics had damaged her face. Minghao intervenes, saying that he is suspicious since only she was like this, so he was going to call the director of the police officer to arrest her. The girl introduces herself as someone who was not afraid of him since the mayor was his cousin, and Zitin and Kim were scared by that. He starts to say that it is the company's fault, that's why he arrives here, which tells Liu Wan to give him 10 minutes to cure her. But Kinley wanted him to do it since it can cause more problems. Kinley tells him that he trusts him, but all women and other people were making fun of him since he was known as the garbage son-in-law, who mentions that if he fails, they can do whatever they want with him. He consequences some medicinal herbs and chemicals. Everything he knows creates a beauty cream, but it smelled bad, so Liu Wan did not want to put it on his face. Kinley fearlessly pours the cream on her face, causing Liu Wan to leave crying to the bathroom. But when she came out, the cream had worked, removing all her pimples, surprising everyone. For that reason, Liu Wan, seeing that he is good at creating medicine, offers him 50,000 yen and manages to cure her uncle's complicated disease. Kinley accepts her request, but Zitin did not want him to go now, that if the family fails, he could be affected. But pushing her aside, he tells her that if he fails, only he will be responsible for everything. On the other hand, the mayor was sad because his uncle was getting sicker every day, and that's when Liu Wan arrives. Kinley presents him, telling him that he can cure the uncle, and one of them wanted to check license since he did not have a doctor's license. Suddenly, a nurse tells them that they must treat the uncle immediately. In the room, the doctor tells them that the uncle is on the verge of death, but when he sees how he is, he mentions that he could still be saved. But the old man got angry and tells him to get out. He doesn't even propose a deal where if he is cured, he will apologize. But this, by making him angrier, throws him out of the room. And when he leaves, he meets his wife Kim. Kim does not scold him for having made a fool of himself. Inside the room, the uncle with how badly he ends up dying. But Kinley quickly enters and uses his power with acupuncture. He ends up saving uncle's life, but they had to let him rest so that he could heal completely. The old man apologizes on his knees for having treated him badly. Kinley tells don't be reckless when you get home, and his mother-in-law sends Kinley straight to do the housework, and after finishing it, he goes to his room, where Kim doing yoga. She tells Kinley that tomorrow they had to go to a family dinner, and that she didn't even decide to go as she had no problems. But in that, she thanks him for having helped her. This surprises him since he had never said those words to her. The next day, in a luxurious restaurant, the whole family was celebrating the family reunion. This lady named Chu Gikian was making fun of Kim indirectly since she said that her son-in-law Cheng Wen was better than Kinley because he had important business. Cheng gives a gift to Kim's father, which was a famous old bowl of 300,000 yuan. This makes Kim's parents happy, but Kinley, when he sees that bowl, realizes that it is fake, so that, having been done wrong, it had an evil spirit and also a curse inside of it. Cheng begins to mock Kinley for not having brought a gift, but he tells them that even if he had brought a gift, it would be much better than his fake, and he yells at him that it wasn't true, but inside, he was worried because he already knew it. However, the others began to scold Kinley since they didn't believe that. A mess, Fang Mao arrives, and he asks to show him the bowl when Cheng approaches him, but Kinley ignores him. But Kinley shows the bowl and asks the teacher Fang Mao to see if it is fake or not. When he sees it, he mentions that it looks like an authentic story. Kinley tells him that it is a fake, and Fang Mao asks him if he doesn't believe his words, which he asked. He says no, but this does not make him angry since the bowl was fake. The bowl at first glance seemed real, but it was a high-quality imitation, and since it was kept in a tomb over time, this was cursed. The guy who claims him for that Cheng justifies himself by saying that there wasn't anyone. And when Fang Mao asks someone to talk to him alone, Zitin makes fun of his sister since whoever wants a better son-in-law. And on the other hand, Fang Mao tells him that his wife and children have felt bad for doing it. It's been months, but even though they went to the hospital, they hadn't found anything. He takes his pulse and when diagnosing it, he realizes what was happening but decides to go when the family dinner is over, making Fang Mao happy. When he finishes, he tells his family that he will go to a place where with an internet map, he was going to Fang Mao's house. But in that, he meets gang members hired by Ninjao. But Kinley ends up defeating them effortlessly, and surprised Ninjao ends up running away from fear. After walking for a while, he arrives at Fang Mao's house. Upon entering, he sees that there is an evil spirit. Upon hearing a loud noise, they go directly to his son's room. The floating child is being controlled by the evil spirit. Kinley, to save the child, knocks him down using a little of his power. The first one wants to take out the evil spirit to purify it, since even the parents were beginning to fight because of the spirit at hand. Using acupuncture, he takes it out, saving the child, but he ends up leaving the room. The chemist begins to look for the source of the evil spirit, and when he finds it, he destroys it. The parents thank him for saving their son, and as a thank you, they plan to open a clinic. Kinley decides to accept to be able to help more people. Then he takes a taxi to return home, but he orders it to stop when he sees Kim. When she meets another girl, they make kiss in front of Kinley. This surprises us since I expected everything except that. The two enter a bar where they begin to drink to have fun all night. Whoever fills up the drink a lot ends up sleeping, and the girl, seeing her like this, takes her to the second floor where our daughter already had it waiting all prepared to do it. But in that, they knock on the door, and when they open it, it turns out to be the one who sends him flying with a kick, leaving him very injured. Ninja attacks him with a dodge through him. He pulls out his balls with a needle and then removes them. Kim wakes up, but she hits him for misinterpreting everything. Kill and half annoyed he leaves, telling him that he saved her, but Kim keeps yelling at him. She sees a camera in front of her when Kinley is outside of the room, and he receives a call from Liu Wan, who wanted to buy a large batch of the cream from before, so she decides to give him 2 million yuan to do it at his clinic. Kinley happily accepts, thanking her for that. At Kim's house, she was sad for having stuck after having saved her since she saw the camera recordings. Suddenly Kinley arrives here and asks her what happens to Kim after seeing the bad one, and she tells him that she can be fired from the company. This is because there were many people talking wrong with Liu Wan, so the boss, taking action, was laying off employees. But Kinley tells her not to worry about this because he is going to open a clinic sponsored by Mayor Fang Mao, and he plans to give him a job at work. But whoever thinks it's a lie thinks that he was just consoling her. The next day at home, she makes whomever he sees feel miserable. Since at school, she always bothered him by putting itchy powder in his pants. She invites him to Chinese Kim to a high-level urban auction, where when buying some stones, and he had a stone, it could be sold at double its price. In that, who feels the aura of a stone since it resonated with the power of his body. Tan Zijin gets angry since she bought a stone from the waste. But when they cut it, they are surprised since it was a completely green jade. They all start bidding to buy that stone. Suddenly, a man named Mr. Tan offers 5 million and Kinley decides to buy it for her. Kim decides to sell it since he doesn't know much about jade and so aside to test Kinley's skills and asks him how good the stone that he chose is. He bluntly tells him that it is only a common stone, thus angering Tan Zijin since his father was an expert in that. But when they open everything, they are surprised since it was a common stone. As Qin Li said, he offers to join his jewelry, but since he was Qin Li undecided, he tells him to give him his answer the next time they meet when they are returning home. Kim angrily asks him why he acts stupid if he is actually incredible, and a memory of his teacher enters. He gave him a book that he practiced for 10 years, but he had to seal his speech test during that period so that his aura develops when he returns. Kinley tells him that he really is a fool and who sees that he is not going to say more. He asks him why he agreed to marry her, who reminds him that she protected him when they always teased him in high school. And although the Kim family and she never took pity on him, he always saw her as his wife. This makes both of them blush, for which Kinley changes the subject, saying that the next day he is going to open his clinic. But Kim tells him what to treat. It is not as easy as he thinks. He still decides to open it, and Kim tells him that if he goes to jail, no one will visit him. But she was only worried that nothing bad would happen to him. The next day, they opened their new clinic where he was going to take revenge for having made him look bad before, but then he got into trouble scaring Cheng. In that, a man asks for help since his son was in very bad condition, and when they went to see him, Everyone thought that he was not going to be saved due to his condition. Kinley takes him to his clinic where when diagnosing him, he tells the father that his son was poisoned, and this seemed strange to him since his neighbors took care of his son. An old man begins to defame Kinley for opening a clinic without knowing medicine, and the other people begin to insult him. But whoever gave using an ancient acupuncture technique manages to save him. This makes people congratulate him since he was not a scammer, but it makes Manhwa angry because he poisoned the child to ruin his clinic. Then Kinley spends the day helping people, so when he was tired, he was going home. But when he went out to the garden, he met a girl who was going to attack him, but she ends up fainting. Kinley takes her to his clinic to help her. While he is treating her, he cuts off a necklace. Upon seeing her, he is surprised since the girl was a soldier. Then a memory enters where the girl was on a mission with Division 19. But it didn't take long to kill almost all of his division. In that, the girl woke up very scared by that memory where although she was not fully recovered, she was going to leave but she had no home to return to. Kinley, seeing her like this, offers her the position of assistant in her clinic, and the girl was in doubt but ends up accepting since he saved her. Now her life belongs to him. Suddenly Zitin arrives with a sexy dress up and invites him to participate in a jade contest. When they arrived, Mr. Tan had been invited to represent his jewelry. The contest consisted of choosing a stone and then cutting it, and whoever gets the most money by selling it wins. So he presents 3 members who will participate with him. Kinley wasn't sure he could help, but if Kim tells him that if he doesn't make it to the top 3, he will tell Zitin. So he decides to participate in the auction. So Mr. Tan gives the group millions of yuan to buy the stones, but the other 3 are making fun of Kinley only for so little money when looking for a good small stone. On the other hand, the other 3 had bought a stone for 5 million. So far when they saw the quality of that large stone was good. But that's when the owner of another jewelry store arrives, who makes fun of Lao since his jewelry had won more contests. After the auction is over, they enter to cut the stones where the other members are. They make fun of the stone that Kinley bought. When starting, most of the jewelry stores had cut stones that were completely green, so they were sold in millions. A member, when he went to cut, was praying for a green one, but when he opened it, it turned out to be only a common stone. And the others begin to make fun of that side for that humiliation. Zitin, when it is her turn, goes up on stage, and so Mr. Tan did not want her to be ashamed since his stone was very small, but when she opens it, it turns out to be completely green, surprising the others. But Kinley, by continuing to cut the jade, ends up finding a blood jade inside a green jade. As blood jade was very rare, people begin to offer hundreds of millions of yuan. So when it was sold for 2,000 million, Mr. Tan's jewelry wins the jade contest. Master Jiang invited him to his house. By accepting it, they take him to the Jiang family house, where upon entering he meets Jun, whom, seeing that he found Jade's blood, he asks him to find another for his family. In that, Jun's grandfather begins to cough, for which Kinley, when diagnosing him, tells him that his condition was bad. As he tells him that he is a doctor, he asks for his hand to take his pulse. So when diagnosing him, he sees that the grandfather had an evil spirit who, not even with his abilities, suppresses that spirit. But since he did not eliminate it, he tells him that he must destroy the source of the spirit to be completely cured. Kinley, upon learning that the grandfather slept with a jade pillow, tells him that this may be the source. And the grandfather was not surprised because when he sleeps, he has a strange feeling of cold. Jun is grateful for saving his grandfather even if he does not find the blood jade. His family was going to grant him a wish, who says he was going to look for the blood jade but with the condition that they find information about her parents who disappeared 10 years ago. Jun accepts it even though it will be difficult and then gives him a card with millions of yuan to find the blood jade since they wanted it for the family. Kinley recovers his former glory the next day, who was opening his clinic, where in front he sees that they had opened another clinic. An employee begins to say whose medicines were false, making Kinley angry. But that's when the owner of Tang's clinic appears. When receiving a patient, was going to attend to him since he is considered the best doctor. The patient shows his disease in the head, scaring Tang. There already, in all his life, he had never seen that disease. Little there, with a needle, he begins to prick him, but this instead of improving, it makes him worse. So Kinley decides to go help the patient. He did not want him to treat this patient, but who, hitting him in the face, tells him that he does not deserve to be called a doctor and begins to treat the patient with acupuncture. This was very bad since the evil energy was consuming his vital energy. But whoever has one last chance manages to suppress that energy. This manages to save the patient, but Tang is very arrogant, tells him not to compare himself with him, and starts a competition where if someone makes a mistake, they must leave the field of medicine. after the hours that their work was doing well for them, so they left there. Tang sends one of his employees who, when she goes, begins to flirt with Kinley. On the other hand, the Tang clinic there treats a patient badly, sending him to the hospital, making people not trust him. Tang's employee there begins to pretend to be in bad shape, so Tang there decides that they are in a tie since Kim and he couldn't cure her either, who takes out a huge needle to cure her bad condition, so that she doesn't get pricked, and confesses that Tang had sent her there to do what was wrong. Tang is there, angry because he is humiliating him. He told him that he would take revenge. A call from a girl who tells him that his stones were about to arrive and also wanted to talk to him about business, who accepted. The next day he got angry there because on the news they were showing a report about how he did a trap to win. In that Kinley appears since he also wants to destroy Kinley, so he gives him a recipe to finish it. Later we see him here in a lift shopping with a soldier called Liang King. From a very young age, had grown up in a training camp and did not remember anything about her parents, who did not even feel bad for her, and when he saw a dagger in very poor condition, he bought it, but when they applied fire to it, the dagger adapts its true shape, turning it into a very strong weapon. Who gives her that alliancing dagger, making her very happy. Suddenly he receives a call from Kim. She sadly tells him that her sister had been kidnapped. The guy who had kidnapped her was her ex-boyfriend, Fang Xiao, who had her beaten since she was not obeying his orders. After hearing that, Kinley arrives to save her, making her sad like this since he thinks that he is just a weak brother-in-law. But when the fight starts, he ends up defeating all the gang members who were with Satan's ex-boyfriend. She is surprised since he is not the same brother-in-law that she knew. And when saves her, she invites him to a brotherhood that will be in her school in thundered mode, and surprised that she invited him, he accepts. The next day at the Jiang clinic, he informs her that he has completed his mission to reserve a villa to buy for Kim. And since he wants to give him a better house, he goes to buy it, but when the seller arrived, she did not want to sell it to them, thinking that Kinley is poor. She begins to make fun of Kinley because of his way of dressing. But that's when Jiang arrives, who was the director of that store. She hits the saleswoman and then apologizes to Kinley for the treatment he received. Then she gave the saleswoman a life lesson and left. Later when she arrives at her clinic, she finds a lot of people complaining because the creams that clinic sold damaged their faces. The policemen, seeing Kinley, were going to arrest him as a scammer who is coming. He takes out his phone to call Liu Wan as proof since she uses the same cream. When she arrives, the person who asks her to tell about her experience with the cream you want tells the policeman that this cream was wonderful, and then begins to insult the girls who were protesting, telling them that they couldn't even buy it since it was expensive. The police, seeing that Liu Wan was a respectable person, and policemen were going to investigate the case. Whomever they found guilty, they were going to arrest the girls. Not wanting to go to jail, they confessed that our girls and Tang had given them a prescription harmful, and then blame everything on Kinley. On the other hand, those two were happy to think that they destroyed Kinley's fame. Soon after, someone knocks on the door and destroying the door. He pulls out a weapon to kill them, but she very quickly takes the weapon from him, angering her since she can't stand seeing people grab a weapon as if it were a toy. And instead of giving him the beating of his life, he sends him to the police and asks to be arrested. Suddenly he received a message from Jiang, which said that his villa was ready to move in. Then he went to her to finalize the sale. Later a man introduced him to Jack, who had come to see him to talk about cooperation. This consisted of opening a company where they would sell the cream that cured Liu Wan's face, and would be the majority shareholder with 80%. Kinley was thinking of accepting since it was a good deal. But Jack, thinking that he is not satisfied, offers him a gold card, and how good it is, accepts that deal. But his wife, Kim, would be the majority shareholder, and that's why she chuckled when she received a call. She tells Kinley that the stones have already arrived. He says he goes to the warehouse to start the search for the blood jade, but is tired since he could not find it due to its great rarity. When he remembers how he felt when he found that jade, he uses his aura to search faster, finding the stone that contained that blood jade. After finishing, he arrives at his house where there was a tense atmosphere where they begin to call him an unfaithful dog since he was cheating on Kim. Kinley did not know what they were talking about, but they show them some photos where he was with Jiang in the clinic. The end. So this is the story of the best husband ever. If you want to watch the rest of the chapters with me, stay connected with this channel. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to get new manga recaps.